right, everybody, welcome in. This week we are ditching the multi-game format for something a little different. We are going deep, deep, deep on one game and one game only. Vikings at Packers, week 4. And you know what? The inactive reports alone are giving us plenty to chew on. Because remember, these aren't just names on a list. They're clues about how each team wants to play this thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mhm.
Big implications in this one. You've got the Vikings 3-0, feeling themselves heading into what's basically a hornet's nest, Lambeau Field. Packers are 1-2. They need this win bad to keep pace in the NFC North. Always a tense rivalry, but throw in the whole Aaron Jones revenge game angle. Man, it's going to be spicy.
Hold on. I'm going to break that down for folks who might have missed it. We're talking about Aaron Jones, running back, used to be a Packer, got released, now he's wearing purple and gold. And from what I'm seeing, the articles, even some YouTube pregame stuff, they're hiking this up big time. Like, Jones wants to torch his old team.
It's a good narrative, for sure. But look, even without the drama, these inactive reports, especially on the Vikings side, they tell a story.
Okay, so real quick, for anyone who just started following the NFL 5 minutes ago, what do we even mean by inactive reports?
Right. Basically, it's the list of players each team puts out, saying who isn't suiting up for the game. Could be injury, could be a coach's decision, whatever. But point is, it often hints at their strategy. So Vikings side, most interesting thing. Linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. out for the second week straight. This dude was a monster in those first 2 games. Disruptive as heck.
Bad news for Green Bay, then, because didn't they just give running back, what's his name, Josh Jacobs, that huge contract extension?
Josh Jacobs, that's the guy. And yeah, Packers need him to produce. Pace being out, that might be their chance to get the run game going.
But here's a twist. Vikings elevated tight end Robert Tonyan from the practice squad, meaning he is eligible to play. And get this, he used to play for Green Bay. How's that for adding some spice to the mix?
More than just spice, actually. Tanya was there for 5 seasons. Knows that Packers offense inside and out.
Yeah.
Play calling, formations, maybe even some of those sneaky audibles Rodgers used to do. Even if he's not the main target, that inside knowledge, that could be huge for Minnesota.
Okay, but hold up. Because the Packers inactive report, that's where things get really interesting, especially on the defensive side. They've got cornerback Jerry Alexander listed as questionable, usually means it's a game-time decision. But they also elevated 2 extra cornerbacks from the practice squad.
Yeah, and that's not nothing. Bringing up both Keandre Thomas and Corey Ballantyne. To me, that screams they ain't too sure Alexander's going to be good to go.
So, reading between the lines here, it sounds like Alexander's probably out, which, to understand why this is such a big deal, we got to talk about the Packers secondary. Even with Alexander, that's been a bit of a question mark.
100%. They've given up some big plays, and now they're facing, arguably, the best receiver duo in the league. Justin Jefferson, A&D, if he's healthy, Jordan Addison. Let's just say, if I'm that defensive coordinator trying to game plan against those 2 without my best corner, I'm not sleeping much this week.
Talk about a tall order, right? But okay, game plan challenges aside, what are the Packers themselves saying about how they'll handle all this? Any juicy quotes from the sources?
Well, there's been some buzz about this comment from Packers linebacker Quay Walker. Basically, he kind of brushed off the whole Aaron Jones thing. Said Jones going to the Vikings doesn't make him any different as a player. Almost like he's trying to downplay the revenge factor.
Yeah, but you don't just casually dismiss a guy who was a core part of your offense for years, you know?
Yeah.
Feels like there's got to be more to it.
Right. It's a tactic, for sure. Maybe trying to fire up his own defense. Who knows? But, gotta say, not everyone in Green Bay's singing that tune. A bunch of articles, interviews we saw, even Coach Matt LaFleur, they're praising Jones, his work ethic, his talent, all that.
So maybe a little pregame trash talk from Walker, but the real story is how Green Bay actually plans to stop Jones on the field, right?
No doubt. Personal feelings aside, the strategy's obvious. Contain Aaron Jones. Doesn't matter what article you read, they all say the same thing. Packers want to win. They got to shut down that Vikings run game.
Makes sense, right? Can't let a team like Minnesota dictate the tempo with the run. Opens up way too much for their offense. Speaking of which, Packers offense has its own hurdles to clear. How's LaFleur adjusting the play calling with Jordan Love at QB, especially since he's dealing with that MCL sprain?
$1 million question right there. Love's going to be wearing that brace, so his mobility's limited. Not as much of a running threat. His LaFleur's got to get creative. Though the articles did point out he's done well with limited QBs before, even when the backup Malik Willis had to step in.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Willis, not exactly known for his arm, but LaFleur still put up points. So can he pull that off again with Love against this Vikings D? That's the big question.
And don't forget about Danielle Hunter.
Huh.
Vikings defensive end. Absolute beast when it comes to rushing the passer. Gets off the line so fast. If those Packers linemen can't contain him, Could be a long day for Love, bad knee or not.
Both these coaches are earning their paychecks this week, that's for sure. Gotta adjust, gotta outsmart each other, all while making the most of who they got on the field. Fascinating stuff.
And here's something else that caught my eye. Both coaches, almost word for word, talking about physicality this week. Like old school smash mouth football, running the ball, winning at the line of scrimmage, that kind of thing.
You know, that is interesting. Almost feels like a throwback in a league that's all about those high-powered offenses. Why do you think that is?
Well, part of it's got to be the Packers' offensive line, their interior line. It's been a weak spot all year. Vikings, on the other hand, even without Ivan Pace Jr., their D-line is nasty. Great at generating pressure right up the middle. Classic case of, you attack my weakness, I'll attack yours.
So we've got strength on strength, weakness on weakness, and a dash of old school football thrown in for good measure, almost like both these teams are saying, forget the fancy stuff, let's line up and see who wants it more.
And let's not forget that physicality both coaches are talking about plays right into the hands of a certain running back who might have a little extra motivation against his former team.
Oh, yeah, Aaron Jones has got to be loving this. Packers talking about stopping the run all week. If they can't back it up, it'll be a long day for that defense. But, all right, we got to wrap up soon. What should our listeners really be watching for when they tune in on Sunday? What are the keys to this NFC North showdown?
We've covered a ton, but it really boils down to a few things.
Yeah.
On the Packers side, can they contain Aaron Jones, even without Jerry Alexander? Can they prevent those big plays? And on the flip side, can the Vikings D-line get to Jordan Love? Because that Packers interior O-line is suspect, to say the least.
Those are the biggies, for sure. Plus that whole chess match between the coaches, how they adjust, who makes the better in-game calls. Man, that's always fun to watch.
You said it. But you know what? There's one more thing I'm curious about, something our sources didn't mention much. The Packers receivers.
Oh, you think so? You're thinking if Love actually has time to throw, which is a big if against that Vikings pass rush, maybe those Packers receivers could do some damage.
Exactly. We've seen flashes from guys like Romeo Doubs. Dude's got speed to burn. He can take the top off of defense. And don't sleep on Christian Watson either. Big target, great hands. If those guys can win their one-on-ones, make some plays downfield, it changes everything for Green Bay.
And suddenly that Packers run game we keep talking about, even more dangerous. Defenders got to respect the deep ball. Linebackers dropping back into coverage. Opens up lanes for Aaron Jones like nobody's business.
Bingo. That's all connected, man. A chess match, back and forth, adjustments and counter adjustments. That's what makes this matchup so juicy.
No doubt. Going to be a good one. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this week's deep dive. Make sure you hit us up on social media. Let us know your predictions for this Vikings-Packers showdown, who you got. Until next time, folks, this has been the deep dive, keeping it real, keeping it insightful, and most importantly, keeping it jargon-free.